Carrie Nixon had been working as a waitress at a small roadhouse outside Montana for more than 10 years when she became involved in a chilling event that would make anyone hold their breath. Carrie was one of the most experienced waitresses at the Happy Break restaurant, only surpassed by her boss and the founder of the establishment, Charlie, and the cook, who was about to reach retirement age but was reluctant to stop working. This made Carrie the example to be followed by the rest of the temporary employees who came and went. She was the visible face of the restaurant, and her kindness and good treatment made her indispensable and loved by all. Nixon was aware that she devoted more hours to her work than to her personal life, which lacked many of the things one expects to have when turning 40. She had not married, nor did she plan to do so in the short or long term. She had no children or a steady partner, and her greatest possession was a small apartment she had managed to pay for with her meager salary at the restaurant and an old Chevrolet truck inherited from her father, which she had restored. Her whole life was spent in that little place she considered her home, where she had experienced so many things, most of them good. Otherwise, she would have left by now. However, the waitress would soon live through a very unpleasant experience in her beloved restaurant, something she had never faced before, but for which she felt more than prepared. The day had started normally. Spring was coming to an end, and temperatures were beginning to rise rapidly, causing the flow of tourists to gradually increase, and with it, the restaurant's diners. The Happy Break, with its rustic and cozy decor, was already full before noon. Families on vacation, truckers on their long routes, and couples looking for a quick break found a comfortable refuge there. The smell of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the aroma of homemade cakes and grilled sandwiches, creating a very cozy atmosphere. In the midst of it all, there was Carrie, smilingly circulating among the tables, taking orders, serving dishes, and making sure all the customers were satisfied. She knew the routine well: orders of strong coffees for those who needed to stay awake on the road, juices and sandwiches for the children playing in their seats, and the chef's choice for the more indecisive. Today we have a really delicious chocolate peanut brownie dessert. Try it, you won't regret it. It's probably the best brownie in all of Montana, but it's a secret. That's why you have to come all the way here to discover it, she advised those who were not sure what to choose. As she worked, she watched the people, imagining the stories behind each face. She had been working there so long that some faces were familiar to her, frequent travelers who always made a stop there. Others, on the other hand, were unknown to her, people she would probably never see again, but whom she liked to observe as she tried to guess what their lives would be like. She liked this dynamic, absurd as it might seem, a constant mix of stories and paths that intersected in a small Montana roadside diner. It was the life she had chosen to live, and she was content with it. She could have devoted herself to many other things, but she chose to stay there, in a remote place that probably no one would remember. But that, for her, was her whole world. Then something disturbed the calm of the place and caught the waitress's full attention. A family that had just arrived in a black car in pretty bad shape entered the restaurant and sat down at the farthest table. They looked like a normal family on a trip. The restaurant saw hundreds of similar families passing by. But there was something in the way the girl moved that caught Carrie's attention and prevented her from taking her eyes off them. There was hesitation, a subtle awkwardness in their movements that did not go unnoticed by the experienced waitress, who could not take her eyes off them. When they sat down, the waitress smiled at them, trying to appear normal, ready to offer them the menu and take their order. However, something inside her told her that she had to be alert and that they were hiding something very bad, although it was impossible to know to what extent her suspicions would be true. "Take a deep breath and be kind. It's probably just your imagination. It wouldn't be the first time," the waitress said to herself, trying to hide her nerves as she cautiously approached the table where the family was seated. As she reached them, she smiled at the family, picked up her notepad to write down their orders, and with her usual kindness asked, "What would you like today? We have delicious new dishes on the menu and a delicious chocolate dessert. I'm sure the little girl will love it," she suggested gently, looking at the girl and then at the parents for some sign of approval. "The girl doesn't need to eat chocolate. I'll have a hamburger and fries, and they'll have 2 light sandwiches with a little salad and a juice. That's enough, and hurry up," he said, looking intimidatingly at the waitress and sideways at the woman and the girl, who avoided looking at him and seemed to be very scared. Carrie tried to remain calm as she took note of everything, and before turning around to go back to the kitchen, glanced sideways at the wife and daughter. The wife looked tired and sad, and the little girl, who was barely 6 years old, was crestfallen and seemed to have lost all illusion and joy. "Don't worry, sir. I'll tell them to prepare their food as quickly as possible," she told him, trying to remain calm as she walked away from the table with her heart in her fist. The tension at the table was completely visible, and Carrie felt a growing discomfort as she watched their interaction. As she approached the counter, Carrie had a bad feeling and felt the need to alert her boss so they could be prepared. "Charlie, have you seen that family that just arrived? There's something very strange about them. The man is very arrogant and the wife and daughter look scared. I don't know. I have a bad feeling. I think we should keep an eye out for what might happen," she said worriedly, looking down at the table. Her boss looked at the table and, after a few moments of hesitation, tried to reassure his employee and make her understand that her job was not to solve family problems, but to attend to the customers and serve them the food. "Carrie, sometimes people have their bad days. Every family has days when no one seems to get along and they are in a bad mood. But keep an eye on them just in case. You can never be too safe. You just act normal and try to keep a lid on it, okay?" Charlie suggested, as he continued wiping the counter. Carrie nodded unconvinced and went on with her work. 5 minutes later, still nervous and not quite knowing how to deal with the situation, Carrie returned to the table, handing the burger and fries to the husband, who was still silently staring out the window with a disgruntled gesture. "Here's your order, sir. Your wife and daughter's sandwiches will be ready shortly," she said, trying to hide her concern. The man just grunted in response and didn't even look at her. The woman and the girl did not dare to look up. They were really terrified. Carrie felt more and more nervous and could not help thinking that something very bad was about to happen. And she was right. After returning to the counter to pick up the mother and daughter's snack order, Carrie again witnessed a terrible family scene that she wished she had never had to see. The little girl, who had been silent and crestfallen since they had arrived, stood up slightly, and with restless eyes and a trembling voice asked her mother if she could go to the bathroom. "Mom, I've been holding it in for hours and my tummy hurts. Please, Mommy," begged the little girl. The woman, with a tired look on her face and her eyes lowered, looked hesitantly at her husband as if she was afraid to say anything, and finally asked him in a trembling voice, "Harry, honey, can I take her to the bathroom? We've been on the road for many hours and she's a little girl. She needs to go." "No, you're staying here," he said sternly, without even looking at them, hoping no one would hear him. But the truth is that he raised his voice more than necessary, and several of the diners turned to look at them, which made the husband angrier and increased the tension between the three of them. However, the woman did not give up, and fighting for her daughter's welfare, she answered bluntly, "Do you want to have to stop on the way for her to relieve herself? I think that will attract more attention than going to the bathroom in a restaurant. Here's a bathroom. It'll be 5 minutes. It's easier. We all win," she said sternly as she hugged her daughter tightly. "That's fine, but if you take more than 5 minutes, I'll be the one to bring you back to the table," shouted the man, his face unhinged with anger. Carrie was shocked as she watched the scene. If at first she had had a slight feeling that there was something strange going on in that family, now she had no doubt about it. However, what was going to happen next, no one could see coming. Not even her. Mother and daughter hurried to the bathroom, where they had to wait longer than usual because it was quite crowded, and there wasn't even a free toilet for the girl to pee. "Mom, I really have to go now. Otherwise I'll pee my pants. It hurts so much and I don't want to get dirty. You know how angry Daddy gets every time that happens to me," said the little girl to her mother, very distressed. "Calm down, my love. It will be our turn soon. Then you'll feel better, and you'll be able to have your juice and play," replied the mother as she gently stroked her daughter's hair. But when her husband saw that they had not returned to the table, he got up from his seat to enter the women's bathroom and see what was happening. It was then that Carrie decided to intervene and prevent him from entering the bathroom to intimidate the woman and the girl. "You can't come in here, sir. Go back to your table, and your wife and daughter will be out in a few minutes," she said calmly as she blocked his way with her body. It was at that moment that the bathroom door opened and the woman and the little girl hurried out of it. The woman apologized, but the husband grabbed her arm forcefully and pulled her towards the table, while the little girl followed them. Just before the husband turned around to face the waitress, the little girl managed to show Carrie the palm of her left hand, where there was a huge X drawn in red lipstick. Carrie knew exactly what she had to do. "Charlie, I was right. Call the police. That little girl has a red X on her hand. It's an emergency signal. She's crying out for help," she whispered to her boss with an urgency that she had never felt before. Charlie immediately called the police, who arrived at the restaurant 15 minutes later. When the man saw the officers arriving, he panicked and, without thinking, pulled out a small pistol and pointed it at his wife's head. "If you don't let me leave, this will end badly for her. Back off or else," he shouted in an altered voice, his hands shaking. The police, experienced in dealing with such situations, requested reinforcements and managed to neutralize the man without any of the hostages being hurt. The man, completely overcome with panic, surrendered to the police, shouting accusations until they put him in the patrol car. Once the situation calmed down, the police calmly questioned the woman and the girl, who testified about the years of abuse they had endured at the hands of their husband and father. "My dad is bad. He always makes Mom cry, and I'm tired of my mom being sad," the girl explained to the officers sadly. Carrie, unable to contain herself, showed the agents the girl's hand, where the red X drawn with lipstick was still visible, and explained what she knew about the distress signal. "I did it with Mom's lipstick. I saw it on TV. It said that when you're in danger and don't know how to ask for help, you should draw a big X on your hand so people can help you." "Did I do it right?" the girl revealed, her face wet with tears. "You did perfectly. You were very brave, and it's all over now. You're safe." One of the agents comforted her as he gave her a comforting hug. Mother and daughter hugged each other, grateful and relieved that they were finally free of the abuse and fear that had haunted them for years. The police informed them that the man would remain in custody and that an investigation would proceed, ensuring that they would be protected and far from the violence they had endured for so long. Carrie felt a mixture of relief and pride for her crucial role in saving the mother and daughter. It was a sad story that she would never forget, and one that reminded her of the importance of paying attention to the signs when something is wrong, especially in public places. If you liked this touching and surprising story, we invite you to leave a comment. If you want to continue enjoying inspiring stories like this, subscribe to our channel or check out the other videos shown at the bottom of the screen. Thank you for your cooperation.